I want to thank you for joining me today. I know this is an incredibly difficult time, the loss of your grandmother, Dalyce Curry. There have been a lot of stories about her in the last 24 hours. Before we get into anything else about the fires and what you faced, tell us a little bit about who she was.
Well, it's rare where I would think the mother of a man she was with. My mother wasn't married to my father, but she loved my grandmother so much she named me after her
Wow.
because she was just that amazing of a woman. And so she also wanted custody of me. Um, as an early age, my mother was struggling, and my great grandmother and her, along with my dad, I lived with them on 41st Place in Vermont, in South Central Los Angeles. I grew up there. I went to Normandy Avenue Elementary School, and it was the best upbringing. They taught me how to set a table. They instilled such great values in me, and I wouldn't be the woman I am to this day without her.
Yeah, wow. And reading about her, it's one thing to read about people. And in an event like this, when a tragedy happens, you don't get a chance to do the person's life justice in the chaos of the news cycle and the media cycle. Her loss has been a news story, but this is very real life for you and your family. Take us through what has been going on this past week, the ups, the downs, all of it.
Yeah, well, I am trying to, I work, as well, in addition to being her caregiver. And then I'm a caregiver to my sister as well. But I do have someone that takes care of my sister because obviously our grandmother needed us first. So she had an upcoming appointment, Kaiser Sunset. We normally go there. My grandmother is Kaiser famous, okay? And so she's Kaiser famous. She has her appointment with her cardiologist, wanted her to get an echocardiogram because she had an event a couple months ago, and he just wanted to check her heart. And we we went on that interview. I mean, that interview. We went on that. We had that echocardiogram, but her cardiology team said, "Hey, you've been complaining about some dizziness, so why don't you go to urgent care too? Right there by Church of Scientology. It's just big on Sunset. The big campus. So we go over to urgent care, as they said, and they're like, we're gonna need to send you over to the emergency room. Your troponin levels are high." And we're like, oh, here we go again. So we end up there. Now we're there the entire day, so we really didn't know what is going on the news. And I think I had
Because the
heard about
fires were starting, right? The fires were starting up at
right.
that point. Okay.
I
Yeah.
heard about the Palos Verdes fire, but Palos Verdes and Altadena, you got the ocean and then you got the mountains. So our home was on the base of the mountains there in Altadena, just very, at the bottom. So there at the hospital the whole day, we did have a message from our community, which our landlord, the Valencia family, there's these little funky cottages. Altadena was a very eclectic community. The houses are all different, no track homes, just so this is like some nice little funky little cottage place. Looks like a mountain resort, but it's just a few little townhomes in this little cul-de-sac. And we all knew each other, all of our neighbors. So we're on this text thread, and I'm being now contacted saying that there's an issue, and there might be a fire evacuation and evacuation orders coming down the line. There's a fire, the Eaton fire. So, at this point, we're in the emergency room, but I went to go get my grandmother some tea and a sandwich. She was quite hungry. So I told her, but I had got a call from our landlord, and she says, "Is your grandmother with you? We're knocking on her door." And I'm like, yeah, she's with me. No worries. I said, "We're in the hospital, but if they keep her, they may end up keeping her. I'm not sure." So bottom line is they did not keep her. That's the one day that we wish they would have kept
That
her.
they would have kept her. Yeah.
Yeah, so they did
Wow.
not keep her. We went home. I can see the fire way northeast, um, as we're heading from the 5 back to Pasadena. As we got off Lincoln and we're heading up, the lights were off in a lower, like by the freeway, but then as we got closer to Altadena, the power was still on. And I think I got a message that no evacuation orders were in place yet. And then I'm still looking at the fire. I'm like, it's so far northeast. There's just, in my mind, I'm thinking there's no way that fire is going to get down here. The winds were crazy. And I know now, never underestimate the power of Mother Nature and winds and fire.
But nothing had happened like, I mean, fires are a commonality in this area, but
Yeah.
nothing like this had ever happened in Los Angeles history to this extent, right? So
No, the
you're
whole
not
entire
thinking,
city.
right,
Yeah.
right. So you go then and you're taking care of your sister as well. When you realized, well, when did you realize that something was wrong and that your grandmother might be in trouble?
So I as I was leaving on Lake and Altadena Drive, I did see there was like a command center set up, but you would expect this is one thing I would like to say. I think that the city needs to rethink um, emergency evacuation orders because elderly people, no matter how much I tried to train her and get into her cell phone, she just couldn't get into it. And it's unfortunate, and I hear a lot of people saying the same thing, that their elderly loved ones just don't want to do the cell phone. They just don't get into it. So for me, if that's the only type of evacuation orders that people get on a cell phone where everyone is not on a cell phone, maybe yeah, the majority of our people, yes, but elderly people, I know they're forgotten about, but she just wasn't a cell phone type of a girl. And I got her on Facebook, showed her how she can video chat family members and from out of town. I showed her how to text message. But I recall now her phone never went off the whole entire day. She left that phone. That phone was probably at home dead, and it was not safe. So I just saw the command center. Fire was still very much east, way far away from us, in my opinion. And when I did get home, there was another text message that went out in the community that some people had left, but there was a great deal of people still there, like Juan and Bill and Ann, neighbors in our community. Bill and Ann lived across from us, and Juan lived next door. And I hear that Juan stayed to the end, but unfortunately, he left to go see maybe if he can get a hotel room or something, or motel room, and he couldn't. And then he came back, and then that's when he said he knocked on the door, but then he left again. He said he may thought she had already evacuated, or someone she was with someone else because she didn't answer the door. So I woke up. I just laid down for a minute. That was 2 a.m. We'd been going all day. I laid down for a minute, got up at 5:30, and I saw her landlord say, "Did anyone get Dee Dee?" That's what they called her. "Did anyone get Dee Dee?" And I go, "Should I call her to pack a bag?" They're like, "Evacuation orders took place at 3:30 in the morning." And I'm like, "What?" So I jump up, I call 911, and I ask, can someone go do a welfare check because I have a 95-year-old grandmother that is possibly in harm's way with the fire. And 911 transferred me to the fire, LA County Fire, and they said that there's so much going on right now. We'll take down the information and send someone out there. And I said, well, can you guys give me a call back? And they said, I'm sorry, we can't give you a call back. There's just too much going on. So I
Wow.
said, oh my God. So let me go ahead and get my clothes on. And I just ran up the hill. I ran back. I'm about 30 minutes away. I got on the 210. I fly there. Now, let me tell you this, when it was daytime, but as I was exiting Lincoln, it was nighttime. It was the whole city was black. So I get off on Lincoln. I did the police barricade is at Woodbury there. And that is when reality kicks in that, oh my God. I was just like, I cannot believe this. And I jumped out. The police officer went up there. He did call me back. He says, so basically, I got out and frantically grabbed him by the shoulders because I wasn't even playing. I'm like, "Hey, my grandmother," I'm pointing. She's up there on Palm and Crins, and I need someone to get up that hill and go get my grandmother because she's in that fire. and he takes down my phone number, maps it on his phone, he calls me. Now I have his number, and he says, "You go ahead to the Pasadena Convention Center or Civic Center, because that's where all the evacuees are, and I'll go up the hill and I will call you back." And as I was on my way to Pasadena Civic Center, he called me back and said the house was gone. And then I knew she was at the Pasadena Convention Civic Center. I just knew she was there.
So you believed you were going to get there and you were going to see her there.
I thought she was going to be there. She's going to be so happy, because she was too fabulous for an evacuation center. You know, she can't do evacuation center, not Mama D. Honey, darling, she cannot do that. So I didn't see her. And then I was wall to wall, every ballroom, every outroom, the restroom. So the first time I went around, I started losing hope and then, they're like, the second time, now let me look a second time. So someone stopped me, bless everyone's heart, like the Red Cross and people that were there. I must have looked so distraught. I remember a man who worked there just said, "Can I do something? Can I help you?" And I told him the story, and he goes, "Well, let me take you to go find the gentleman with the clipboard, because he has the name of everyone who's checked in." And he and I were going through these names, and I'm like, no, not this page. No. I see another Curry, but that's a guy's name, Curry. That's not her. Let's go. And didn't see the name on the list. I went back again a third and fourth time. Then they said, well, possibly she's at the Arcadia Recreation Center. So I went there. She wasn't there either. And
what was going through your mind at that point? What were you thinking at that point?
That she perished in the fire. And such a beautiful woman didn't deserve to go out like that. Why did you leave her that night? If you would have stayed the night like she asked you to because you were tired, what if I would have died in that fire? Because my phone was dead. I only have a car charger that, I have a car charger that didn't have the plug-in. It was at my house in Pomona, and I don't think my phone would have died as well.
You would have not even heard the text messages or the order or anything. And, your grandmother, it sounded like, was not your typical 95-year-old either. She was active, it sounds like, would that be accurate? She was somebody who was pretty peppy.
She had, the only thing what was left when you fast forward to me losing hope, days go by, only thing that was left at the place, all my stuff was gone. Her stuff, my great grandmother's shrine, everything is gone, but I can tell where I was because the refrigerator was still here and her exercise bike. So I had bought her this exercise bike because she loved to do her stationary bike work every day. So she rode her stationary bike. She ate nuts and grapes. She'd go through 10 bags of red grapes from that Aldi that burned down. She would eat 10 bags of grapes a week, red grapes, and she ate walnuts and trail mix. So I believe that's why she had no Alzheimer's. She had no dementia, sharp as a tack. She can talk to you about her godmother, who was the first Black silent film actress who got a contract with a major studio, Madame Salty Wan. She can talk to you about Billie Holiday and Pearl Bailey and Red Fox and Elizabeth Stanford from the Jeffersons. And she just had these stories throughout the year. My dad, the love of her life, which was his dad. And, and she just was a wealth of knowledge. And I always felt very privileged and felt very blessed that I still had a grandmother at 95 years old. I was like, I have this. I'm going to cherish this. And so I cherished every moment with her. We had fun. We had a great run. That was my best friend, and that was my girl. And there was no way I would have left her in harm's way. I wish more had been done to let us know the severity of the situation. It just seemed normal. It seemed normal.
Because this is something that is relatively normal in California, right? Fires, not this extent to the fire. And I think people who don't live in California might not realize that. Talk a little bit about your grandmother also had a pretty incredible experience in Hollywood working from the 1950s to the 1980s. It sounds like she was an extra in the Ten Commandments, numerous Blues Brothers, other films. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, because her godmother was Madame Salty Juan, she got her the gig and got her an audition at on Cecil D. Mills, Ten Commandments, and that little part that she got, we were big proud of her. My dad would play it over and over again. We just knew, we had our star. That was our family star, superstar, and she was in the church scene on in the Blues Brothers, and Diana Ross's Lady Sings the Blues. She was in the audience, and it's a whole story because her hat was distracting Diana Ross, because my grandmother wore big fancy hats, and she was just very, very elegant and bold. And so I guess Diana Ross had to get them to have her remove her hat because it was distracting her. So Diana, she still held that. She still held that to heart, that she made my grandmother remove her hat because she was in the audience on the front row and it was distracting her from getting her parts right. So yeah, the little shade over there throwing at Diana Ross,
You
But
know, as you are navigating this, because it's a lot, there's a lot of emotion. This is fresh. We're talking today, 24 hours now after her remains were found. What is keeping you afloat? What is keeping you going? Because I know your whole family, I mean, this is a traumatic, difficult experience. And again, this is a big news story. A lot of people are talking about your grandmother and what happened. So how are you sustaining yourself in all this?
I cannot believe Mama D has gone viral. It's unbelievable. She wanted to be famous in her life, but now people know her name and her death, which is just kind of ironic. But I'm holding up, and I actually came to be with my work family today because my grandmother would say, nothing is as bad as it seems, even at its worst. And she would put those kind of like accents on, the words, because guess what? Nothing is as bad as it seems, even at its worst. So as horrible as this is, I'm in a nightmare. I just found out my grandmother, the only thing that is left of a beautiful woman is half a skull and her eyeglass frames. This was the woman who wanted a full face of makeup in her casket, full wig, and lashes. She wanted that, and it was taken from her. And I'm holding up due to the support of everyone that's around me. I'm surrounded by love and support, and knowing that I was a good granddaughter to her. She was my world. She wanted for nothing. I wish I could have saved her. Um, if there's so many things I could have done differently, but I can't live with that burden and guilt that I had for the first 3 days. That this is your fault. That you should have done this and you could have done that, and I'm not going to live with that. I'm not. She wouldn't want me to break down and melt like I felt like so many times. I just felt like I was just out of body, like just let me just melt away if I can get out of here. But I can't. I have to be strong. She taught me how to be a strong woman. And I just live on her principle that she taught us, and that no matter how tough life gets, nothing is as bad as it seems, even at its worst. So I want that to be a message out there for the world, that even though, and everyone who's lost their homes and anyone who's lost anyone in a devastation and fire like this, especially if you're living right now, you're not dealing with the loss of life in this devastating type of event. Just be grateful and find some kind of gratitude, because things are replaceable. But Mama D, she is irreplaceable.
My final question for you, as people are watching this interview, listening to it, how can people pray for you and your family? Because that's something that I think people will want to do.
You know what? She was a big, firm believer. She said her daily affirmations. She prayed a lot. She incentivized me in kindergarten to learn the Our Father prayer. And like I said, she instilled some a serious Christian values in me. And I know where she is. I know where she is. And I just have to pray that I can continue to live a life that's pleasing to her and our Father. And that I pray that I end up where she is. And that's in the bosom of Abraham. That's in heaven. And I want to make it there one day. And so yeah, we need prayers. We need the strength, and we're all connected. So please continue to pray for my family, because it's a lot of my siblings and her niece Sylvia, who called her every day, and people who are going to miss her dearly. Even down to her Kaiser. It was so crazy, the power of social media. One of our favorite nurses, Dr. Kajubu's nurse over at Kaiser, saw, somehow reposted, you know how social media is. And I got a call from Barbara, and she just couldn't believe it. She loved my grandmother. She was Kaiser famous. So pray for us, because we need the strength. We need strength right now. That's what I need.
Well, I
Please pray
appreciate
for me.
you joining us, talking with us, sharing your grandmother. I know this is not an easy time, and we will be praying for you and your entire family. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate this opportunity and putting her story out there, because she was an amazing woman. God bless you.